Hi everybody, Mark Victor Hansen here, and I want to ask you about the relationship you're having with yourself. Because it has 4 P's to it. Number 1, your performance. 2, your personality. 3, your promise for the future. And 3, the payoffs you're going to have, the results you're going to have. The goal here is the relationship with yourself is that you want to reign over you. You don't want anyone else controlling you. That's what a slave has. They have a master and they're the slave. I want you to be the master of yourself. And you don't need to have performance. You don't need to feel popular, important, valuable, and happy, because you are, if you know the answer to the question, who am I? And all of us have been rejected. You've heard my story again and again. I got rejected by 144 publishers before Chicken Soup got accepted, and then now we've sold 500 million books. So you don't have to prove anything except to yourself. You are here to challenge yourself by reigning over yourself, by mastering yourself, by being a self-master, by waking up to your own self-awareness. And then and only then do you get the high place that can't be taken away from you in a flash, because you own you. It's like my mother used to pray over us before we went to sleep. I've got 3 brothers, or 4 boys and dad. That's a lot of testosterone in one house. But she'd always pray, I would that you be healthy and happy, and that you get a great education, because education is something that nobody can take from you. That's true. Education comes out of educare, to draw out, not stuff in. So schools have a tendency to stuff in. We're teaching you to ask yourself, what is my full potential? What is the high place? What is my destiny from which I can't be fired? I can't fail. And the storms of life can't get me out of the way of my problems. Each of us is going to be invited over our life, or entreated during our life, or forced to be strong and talk wisely, that's smartly, when confronted by surprising situations that are absolutely not of our own making. When the earthquake happened September 21st in 1999 and destroyed 100,000 homes in less than 1 minute and killed 2,419 people in Taiwan, I got an urgent, unforgettable telephone call I wasn't looking forward to, nor did I want. In Asia, my promoter forever has been a wonderful friend, Dr. David Chu. He called and said, hey, look, your biggest fan is the Prime Minister of Taiwan. He wants you to come and calm down the nation and bring them out of their prevailing fear of earthquakes. The nation needs somebody to get them out of being traumatized and into calmness. He thinks you're the guy. I said, David, look, I think the world of you. You know that, and I love the Prime Minister, but I'm a motivational, inspirational speaker. I don't think I'm the right guy for the job. Besides, of anybody, I hate earthquakes almost the most. We just experienced our own earthquake here called the Northridge, California quake. It felt when I woke up at 4:31 in the morning like the Titanic had just hit my house. The whole place was shaking and wouldn't stop shaking. And I promise you, I have a very solid house in Newport Beach, California. He called me 3 more times and begging and pleading and said, look, you got to come and you can't refuse. This is a prime minister. I said, look, I'm looking at my calendar. If I went, I've only got 4 days. It'll take me a day to get there. I'll work for 2 days and a day to get back. I don't think it's a good idea, and I'll be exhausted twice. Well, unbeknownst to me, the Prime Minister of Taiwan calls my 13-year-old daughter, Melanie. Prime Minister says, Melanie, this is important. I'm Prime Minister of Taiwan. I love your dad, his great speaking and writing abilities. I need him to come to my country now and calm down my people. He said, from my heart and soul, I ask you, Melanie, to help me. On your dad's audios, he says you had him wrapped around your little finger. Please use your great power to get your dad to come here tomorrow. We'll pay for his flight. We'll take great care of him when he's here, and he'll be treated like royalty. Melanie, will you help me and my 23,804,321 residents? Melanie, I know it's a big ask. And I need your help, and I need your commitment to get your dad to my country. Her answer was spontaneous. She said, I'll do it, Mr. Prime Minister. You can count on me. I'm important to my father, and he listens to me. I will send him your way. She expressed total, absolute, and yet naive belief and conviction. Within hours, Melanie had me flying first class VIP guests on China Airlines when the airplane was almost empty except for me, because nobody in their right mind wants to fly into an earthquake zone where it's still rattling and shaking. And when I got to the hotel, I was in a hotel with thin walls because that's how they're built in Taiwan. And I know a lot of them were built out of bamboo. And this thing is rolling back and forth, and I'm on the top floor, as is Michael Dell down one hall and Bill Gates down another. So they told me that when I got there. At the same time, that same year, I'd been spokesperson for the American Red Cross. I saw, heard, and knew that America had 7 major storms, tragedies, and national traumas here in our country per year. I'd heard some of the talks to get the nation to calm down and think right again. So I gathered up all those talks before I left, gathered all the newspapers, gathered all the presidential speeches. I read every newspaper on disaster and what the key political or presidential leaders said about them. I arrived in Taiwan at approximately midnight, somewhat scared, tired, sleepless, and not believing I was quite the best man for the job after a 17-hour, non-sleep, non-stop flight. Prime Minister was there, took me straight through customs without so much as looking at my passport because I was with the man himself. 30 minutes after midnight, with his whole entourage and over a dozen TV cameras standing in front of me, I was now there. I was sleep deprived, scared that the nation wanted me to help them wake up the next morning positively and expectantly, and according to the Prime Minister, they were going to listen to my every word, so I ought to say something important and I ought to say it fast. Fortuitously, I'd fast read all the scripts, I'd yellow highlighted them, I'd written what I was going to say all night long, and luckily my brain and mind were working. First time I stuttered through it, and I said, wait, let me do it again, please, Mr. Prime Minister. He said, okay, everybody, click off the cameras, start again. I get goosebumps telling you that because that's the first time I've ever been able to do an instant retake. Now remember, it's 12:31 in the morning, and they're asking me what I can say to handle it. Luckily, I had my first line memorized. I answered, the worse Mother Nature is, the better human nature is. I pulled the LA Times from under my arm, and it was a front page story. And I said, notice here, in Taiwan, the Lady Buddha has already provided blankets, food, and shelter to tens of thousands of stranded and now homeless Taiwanese. The journalists, not knowing that little fact, burst into immediate applause behind their cameras. I said a few more statements, and I was rushed out to a waiting Rolls Royce to be ferried to my hotel and told to be up at 6 a.m. because we're going back to Chiang Kai-shek's headquarters for more media endless questions with himself and the Prime Minister. Now, I share all that because every one of us is going to be called on for the 4 Ps. Did I want to perform? No, I'd spent my whole life preparing as a speaker and a writer and somebody writing heart-touching, soul-penetrating stories, so I guess you'd have to say I was sort of ready. And Abe Lincoln says, prepare and a place will be made for you. Personality, I guess, whatever. In China, the Prime Minister and a lot of Taiwanese and a lot in mainland China up until 4 years ago, I was going there pretty regularly. 80 times I've been there, that part of the world. And my personality just resonates with them. They like me a lot. The promise. Are you willing to think through who you are and what promise you can make to them to raise them up? Because for the rest of your life, you're going to have your own problems, traumas, travails, obstacles, and you got to take adversity, turn it into advantage. You got to take tragedy turn it into triumph. And you've got to think that through before you do it. And that's why we wrote Ask, so everybody could know how to do it. And then you can decide what is the payoff to the listener, to the watcher, to the viewer, to the person on your podcast, or the person you're with, heart to heart, soul to soul, mind to mind. Because you're going to have some important people in your life, your family members, friends, relatives, call you and they want you to give them a payoff. They want you to rise them out of the ashes. They want to understand that they got something bigger, better, brighter, and a future that is worthy of them. And the only way you can output that is if you input the right ideas first. And when I went bankrupt in 1974, that's all I did is I was out selling seminars, as you know, to the life insurance business. I'd drive around in a beat-up old Volkswagen until I got enough money to buy something better. And I'd listen endlessly to positive self-help action messages, because if you put in the good stuff, when you get pressed, you'll pull out the good stuff. Because it's inside out, top down, inside out. I'm asking you, from my heart and soul to yours, to think it through. Put in good stuff. Turn off the channels of all the bad stuff, because there's plenty of it. Because you're going to be asked to perform. You're going to ask to make your personality shine, where you take the basket off the top and just be radiant. You're going to ask to give promises into the future as you reign over yourself and you control yourself, so you get high payoffs that make everyone better off and no one worse off.